breaking news from Real America's Voice.
We're back with update on breaking news that we've been telling you about all morning long, or at least for the last 30 minutes or so. This is a live look at Dallas, Texas, where a sniper opened fire on an ICE facility. We're hearing that at least 3 detainees were shot, but no ICE agents were hit in the fire. This new information just in. Again, 3 detainees shot in Dallas at an ICE facility. The sniper, we're told, is dead after turning the gun on himself. We are continuing to monitor this developing situation for you, and we'll continue to update you. But again, the long and short of it, at least 3 ICE detainees shot by a sniper there in Dallas. Several more are hurt and said to be in critical condition, but no ICE agents were hit. That is the good news. Of course, we are still sad that anyone was attacked here in these United States. We'll continue to update you on this story as we continue to get new information. In the meantime, we are preparing for the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange. It is set to ring here in short order. And so far, so good in pre-market trading. The Dow, S&P 500, and the Nasdaq are all in the green. They are all positive at the moment. So we'll hope that it continues that way once the bell rings. Again, we'll take you to the New York Stock Exchange for the opening bell here in just a little bit. But first, let's get you back over to David Brody. David, good morning.
Okay. Good morning, T. Bates. Time now for our daily dose of dollars and common sense. That would mean American Sunrise Early Edition host Jake Novak is here. He is the guy behind Jake's Take Substack. So, Jake, Jerome Powell had a lot to say about the economy yesterday. However, apparently you found it to be, shall we say, a tad self-serving. I'm curious to hear why. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, so Jerome Powell got on a stage yesterday for a long interview and talked about how, he thinks stocks are a little bit overvalued. And of course, that's a self-serving statement, trying to make it sound like, well, the reason why he isn't cutting rates is he's worried that there's some kind of bubble in the stock market. That really shouldn't be a reason whether he cuts rates or not. The reason for that should be what's going on in the economy, not the stock market. What's going on at our stores? What's our small businesses who aren't listed on the stock exchange, most of them, David, how they're doing. Are they able to borrow the money they need to make payroll? It was very self-serving. He was trying to make himself into a new Alan Greenspan, who, by the way, is still alive, still with us. Alan Greenspan, the Fed chairman during the boom period of the 90s, he made a very famous speech in the late 90s saying there was irrational exuberance around the stock market, and he was concerned about that. But he didn't say, "Oh, I'm not cutting rates because of that," or I'm going to do anything with interest rates about that. He just made a comment about the stock market. Powell was doing a self-serving little dance there. And again, listen, at the end of the day, his problem is that he cut rates last year twice around election time with no justification economically for it, in my opinion. And he'll never live that down, David, and no matter what he says. And it's up to us to remind everyone that he did that. His record is what it is. He is what his record says it is, according to Bill Parcells, and that's really the case there.
The Bill Parcells reference, that was impressive. By the way, any predictions on who might be the next Fed chair? I know you'd like to get rid of the Fed, but I mean, when is Powell's term up? Is it May of next year or something? March? I don't know.
May.
What do you think?
Yeah.
I mean, who do you think?
Well, a lot of people think it's going to be the Stephen Myron, who, President Trump just inserted to be the new Fed governor and to replace Lisa Cook. Or if she decides not to go, I guess we're just going to have another governor for a few more months, and we'll just do it that way. A lot of people believe that's what the deal is there. Scott Bessent, the current Treasury Secretary, who a lot of people wanted for the job, said he's not interested. He wants to stay at the Treasury. I don't blame him. As you know, like you said, I don't like the Fed. I don't like its existence. I think that there are important jobs that the Fed does, but it doesn't need to be a Federal Reserve Board with the Fed chairman and voting and all that kind of stuff. I think that there are some things the Fed can do that we should keep, but for the most part, I don't think we need this position.
All right. Well, here's a question for you. It feels like a little bit of a Dr. Phil question at first. Did you ever have someone treat you like dirt, Jake? Say you were destroying their world, only to have them beg you to stay when you started walking out the door? It does sound obviously like some sort of domestic abuse situation, but you say this is about Gavin Newsom. What? Talk to us.
Yeah, Gavin Newsom and those Democrats in California for years have been bashing the oil and gas industry, not just giving it a hard time, David. I'm talking about basically saying that they're evil, that they're destroying the world. They put it in the curriculum of their schools, freaking out kids for decades. But now that the oil and gas companies are starting to leave the state, Chevron famously left a couple of years ago, they're giving them some sweetheart deals. Gavin Newsom is fast-tracking some oil drills licenses for them. I mean, this is just so pathetic. You know, if they feel like they can browbeat a major industry which not only employs a lot of people in their state, but keeps their state running, they still haven't been able to replace fossil fuels with enough wind and solar and all the other stuff to help replace it. They still need all this stuff. Even if everyone has EVs, you still need a coal-fired or a gas-fired plant, electrical plant to power these things. So this is it really feels like basically a dysfunctional relationship with like a boyfriend who beats up a girlfriend, treats her, like dirt. And then when she walks out the door, he gets on his hands and knees, buys her some flowers, buys her a ring. If I could channel, some of those talk shows, honey, get out of that relationship. I think that they should leave those oil companies before it's too late, because they're gonna do worse things to you.
Yeah, for sure. Breaking news: Gavin Newsom is undisciplined, or unprincipled and hypocritical. All right. I guess finally, Jake, you have a major disclosure. Everyone needs to know if they're following this H-1B a visa fee story. It's on a major news site or mainstream channel. What's happening? What's going on?
Yeah, if for some reason you leave Real America's Voice, which you shouldn't at any time in the day, to read the Wall Street Journal or to watch CNBC or watch NBC or any of those news organizations and read their reports about or watch their reports about the H-1B visa story, you really shouldn't. Because all of these operations, I think, are being incredibly unethical. I know this from personal experience. I worked at a lot of these mainstream outlets. They are big-time abusers of the H-1B visa program. They bring in people, especially to work the back office type work for their news websites using the H-1B visa. And a lot of these websites, not only were they flourishing, but they were created in the first place by American tech-savvy workers. There was no need. In other words, the H-1B visa, which they say, we just need this because there's not enough tech-savvy Americans who know how to do this work. It's demonstrable. I mean, you couldn't have a more tangible proof that that isn't true when you take a look at the websites of these news stations and channels and newspapers that were around well before they started to abuse the H-1B visa. A couple of places that I worked about 10, 11 years ago brought in a massive number of people from foreign countries because they could pay them less, they could work them longer, and they hold their visa over their heads. So don't complain or we'll send you back home. If you see any story about an H-1B visa that doesn't include, maybe even in italics, a little disclaimer saying NBC employs X amount of H-1B visa workers at this price. The Wall Street Journal does. ABC News, CBS, they all need to be disclosing, because I think it's an ethical breach for them not to do so. Of course, they won't do it, so I'll do it for you. They should not be reporting on this without telling everyone how much they are abusing the program as well.
I'm glad you pointed that out. The Jake Novak disclaimer for the networks and for the publications. Thank you, Jake. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right. Time to go back to Terrence in Denver. He's got the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange, and it is sponsored by AMAC.
The Association of Mature American Citizens is the conservative voice for Americans 50 and older. AMAC is fighting for the values that you hold dear. Join today. Together, we can write the course of America.
We're less than a minute from the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange. Momentarily, you'll hear the applause, and then we'll wait for the bell to ring and the markets to officially open. I can tell you that pre-market trading has looked pretty good so far. It's been all of the major indices have been in the green, so hopefully it will stay that way once the markets officially open. There at the bottom of your screen, you also see that we're continuing to watch the situation in Dallas, where someone opened fire on a Dallas ICE facility. We're hearing that at least 3 detainees were shot, but no ICE agent shot. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. The markets are now officially open. You hear the bell ringing. So let's take a look at the markets themselves and see how things are faring now that the markets are officially open. And it looks like everything is good. The S&P 500, the Nasdaq, as well as the Dow Jones, all remaining in the green at the moment to opening this day of trading. We, of course, will continue to monitor it for you and let you know how things are looking once this day of trading ends. But so far, so good on the markets. When inflation jumps and when you hear the national debt is over $37 trillion, do you ever think, well, maybe now would be a good time to buy some gold? Whether as a hedge against inflation, peace of mind during a global instability, or just for sensible diversification, the Birch Gold Group believes that every American should own physical gold, and that's why they've created something special. Until September 30th, if you're a first-time gold buyer, the Birch Gold Group is offering a rebate of up to $10,000 in free metals on qualifying purchases. To claim eligibility and to start the process, request an information kit now simply by texting the word America to the number 989898. Plus, the Birch Gold Group can help you roll an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold, and you're still eligible for a rebate in free metals of up to $10,000. The Birch Gold Group is the only precious metals company that so many Americans trust, as do their tens of thousands of customers. So make right now your first time to buy gold and take advantage of a rebate of up to $10,000 when you buy by September 30th. You've got about another week left. Text the word America to the number 989898. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, President Trump sounds off on climate change at the United Nations, and he scorches the General Assembly. That story is next.